Jeremy Greer.
And I'm Gary Butterfield.
And this is Days of Future Cast, the podcast where Gary and I talk about the X-Men, and we have decided, with no warning whatsoever, to cover Messiah Complex, a.k.a. The Birth of Hope Summers. We're doing these kind of out of order, Gary.
We're doing them completely out of order. All we care about is the battle for Scott Summers' soul. That's what this podcast has become about. Like, is Scott Summers a good person? The podcast.
Is he justified in his actions? The podcast.
Yep. We will find out. Sorry for the no notice for people who like to read along. You can catch up.
Yeah.
It'll take you a couple days.
4 issues. No big deal.
It won't take you a couple days. Take you half hour.
It will take you less time to read them than it will to listen to this podcast, probably, knowing me and Gary.
100%. Yeah, they move real quick. Also, I want to do a theme for this, but I haven't done it yet. But okay. I still want to, so maybe not in this episode, but then for the next set.
Oh, okay.
I'll do one. Maybe I'll come with something more generic so we can use it for whatever we do after this, because this is not a real long crossover. Yeah. This is just going to be a month and a half or so.
Yeah, 13 issues, I think, total. And we're doing 4 per episode to kind of keep people on the schedule. And yeah, I've read this relatively recently. I've talked a lot about during our Avengers versus X-Men run. I talked about reading kind of up to that, and this obviously includes all of that. So I've read this within the last year or so, and revisiting it was pretty good. I had a good time reading these 4 issues. The art on the first one is real dodgy, and the art on the 4th one is like it's just that dude that I don't like. Humberto
Ramos.
Yeah, I just don't. I mean, I'm sure somebody likes rough. It. Yeah, I'm sure somebody's into it because he does work, and I'm not going to say that it's bad by any means. It's just not my preference at all. So,
yeah, this is going to give us an excuse to talk about some new artists and writers who we haven't talked about before. I haven't read this since it came out. I bought this in individual like floppy comic form. This came out when I was going to the comic store once a week. So I was following this, and I'm looking forward to being real over and rolling my eyes at Predator X. One of my least favorite things the X-Men has ever done.
Yeah, Predator X
so much. He's so
real
stupid.
Dumb.
The hungry adventures of Predator X.
Yeah, it's it's not good.
No good. Just every once in a while, we cut to see what Predator X is up to and remind you that he's hungry and he hates mutants. The rest of the stuff's great.
Yeah. This is good, and this is before like Angel turns all weird. It's and it's kind of primetime X-Men stuff for a lot of weird things that are going on. And we get some pretty early on. We get this strife between Cyclops and Professor X, and I'm starting to realize that is some of my favorite drama in the world. Like my two dads are fighting,
and they seeded it a lot earlier than I thought. Like something when we did AVX, it felt like some of the Cyclops stuff. Like I trusted that it had been set up and I knew there were hints of it. That's a really long, slow burn for this character development. And I think it's actually really well handled for something that was passed between multiple writers. This is Ed Brubaker doing this first issue and is kind of the flagship. He was writing X-Men at the time. And we've done Ed Brubaker stuff before. We did Second Genesis or Dark Genesis or whatever it's called. The thing with the fakey X-Men that all died with Vulcan. This is his stuff, and he had been planning this for a long time. Like he's an architect of this cool idea. Yeah. So it's very neat to revisit the origins of it.
I think that's why in reading AVX that some of that stuff, like all of the like having read some of that stuff and going through it. I mean, it's weird because the way you consume comic books nowadays is so dramatically different. Like I wasn't reading floppies, obviously. I consumed probably 5 years worth of somebody's creative output in an afternoon or whatever. But having it all smushed together like that makes it seem like it was like, oh well, this makes perfect sense. But man, like actually doing that over a number of years and it not just being only Chris Claremont's designed, right? Like having so much
collaboration between multiple writers.
And then just people being willing to go along with it and not fuck it up somehow. Like I think that's really, really cool. There's lots of stuff to like about this.
Yeah, tons to like about it. It's a great team. It's also in terms of like the big Ed Brubaker X-Men crossovers he did. To me, this is by far the superior one. He's also responsible for one of the more boring comics I've ever read, which is the Rise and Fall of the Shi'ar Empire crossover. Did you ever read that? No. I mean, I don't know why you would. It's called The Rise and Fall of the Shi'ar Empire.
Yeah. You had me Vulcan. At Shi'ar, and then you lost me.
Yeah. you lost me at Shi'ar. You had me at Rise.
Yeah.
You lost me at Fall. It's all Vulcan shit with the Shi'ar, and it fucking sucks. It sucks the stars from the sky. It's so boring. It's like 24 issues or something.
Jesus.
It's really long.
Yeah, it was the Shi'ar. Of course, it was extremely boring.
And Vulcan.
And Vulcan.
It was very boring.
Good. His favorite character, his favorite X-Man, the Vulcan.
He made him.
Do you think Vulcan would get mad at you if you called him the Vulcan?
Yeah. He seems like he gets mad at everything. That's his whole character trait. He's like Dakin, but without being weirdly horny.
Sure.
He's just like a real angry little dude. No good. Today we're talking about the X-Men Messiah Complex one-shot. This is the chapter 1. It's its own book. It's not a issue of Uncanny, but it effectively is an issue of Uncanny, and it sets up the stuff.
And the cover is going to be, as a lot of times they do with these things, all of the covers for the crossover event will be similarly styled. Basically,
impossible to tell apart at a glance.
Yeah,
It's so busy.
It's very busy. I do like a fat X though. Like I like the fact that they made a rectangle and then put some triangles on each side to make a real fatty X. That's pretty cute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But the cover is just like our team, which is Cyclops, Emma, Wolverine, Angel, and Nightcrawler, sorting through some wreckage, walking up through some wreckage, which we're gonna learn all about here in just a second.
The artist is Mark Silvestri, industry shithead, and the artist behind the Here Comes Tomorrow arc of the Grant Morrison run.
Yep.
So real sketchy, real busy.
Yeah,
drawings
and some of my least favorite actual like figure work. And I think we talked about this when we ran into him on New X-Men, but just not consistent with like the scale of the characters from page to page, and everyone looks kind of weird and bad. And I don't know. This is not my favorite dude.
The cheekbones on everybody.
Yeah.
The way he draws them. It's fucking incredible. Like you could just open a letter with them all.
Absolutely. Yeah. Let me sharpen those up for you, son. Let me get this taken care of.
They all have adamantium cheekbones. They're all Lady Cheek Strike.
What if Wolverine only had adamantium on his cheekbones?
Yeah. And the best there is at what I do, and what I do is nuzzle foes into submission.
And what I do is not go down on ladies because it is dangerous.
Yep. Yeah, they have to wear thigh guards. They have to wear pull-drons. I don't know if that's actually the name of the PCR armor that goes over your thighs. Armor is fucking dumb. Every little bit doesn't need its own name. Yeah.
Yes, it does. What are you talking about? What are you going to do? If I say my armor is damaged, you're going to be like, which part? And then what I'm going to be like?
Thigh.
But there's probably like two thigh pieces. There's probably like a leg thing and then an inside thing. Front thigh and back thigh. Okay. Well, you're just boring. Yeah,
because nobody knows what a pauldron is, or like a.
Well, pauldron is the one that goes on your shoulders.
A vambrace,
right? Vambrace is an elbow. Elbow. I've learned all I know about armor is from Dablo 3. I mean, that's just all I'm pulling from video games only here.
You're killing it with this armor quiz, man.
I'm 2 out of 2. Let's stop. I got a helmet.
Yeah, coif. We start off with the Blackbird. The Blackbird is going at top speed into Alaska with our team sitting there. I love this small team, this like core team. Yeah. X-Men should do that more often.
Mm-hmm. Not too big. And this is basically them speeding towards something. We don't know what it is yet. But more importantly, Emma Frost, wherever they're going, she can't pick up anything. Like there should be hundreds of people out there, and she can't read any minds, which makes everybody think that this is probably a trap.
Yep, a trap, or the alternative. Wolverine points out that it's either a trap or everyone is dead. And Nightcrawler looks out and he's like, actually, Scott, it's way worse than we thought. He looks down on the town, and the town is on fire.
Yeah.
The entire town.
Not good. And this is when she starts picking up telepathy from all of the people down there, and they're screaming and terrified. And of course, this just looks like an absolute war zone. So Cyclops starts assigning roles. Wolverine and Nightcrawler are going to go down, do their thing. Angel's going to go up and get some reconnaissance, which he doesn't. He doesn't do. Angel's still the most useless X-Man in existence.
It's before he gets. Man, this is a side note. Out of nowhere, there was a weird, kind of legendarily bad story arc of X-Men that I had never read. I was curious about, and I read it the other night. It's Joe Casey's run, where he has Banshee kind of form like the ex-Nazis, basically.
What?
Like he makes a military police force. It's complicated, but Angel is the leader of the team in that version of X-Men. It's Angel and Nightcrawler, and Angel keeps finding bazookas during that run of some kind to fly around with and shoot things.
Perfect.
Like that's how they dealt with his not very usefulness.
It's very funny. That is hilarious. Like, because how many times in your life have you seen a bazooka?
0 is that what I'm gonna say.
And dude, I'm your age, and it's been 1. So like the fact that somebody could just fly around and find them like hanging out like a fucking item drop in fucking Unreal Tournament or something, it's just wild to me.
He's finding those epic rares. It's
finding the epic rares.
He's spending all the money on Diablo Infinite or whatever. The Cyclops is very nervous that a mutant did this. To set up some context, this is after Decimation.
Mm-hmm.
So this is after House of M.
Yeah, we probably should have done this before.
And the X-Men are confined by Sentinels to the mansion. Usually they have to kind of sneak out.
Mm-hmm.
Here is a weird time for the X-Men here. So it'd be really, really bad if a mutant did this. Because there aren't very many X-Men left.
Yeah, and also like, I mean, we don't know this yet, but like this is going to be the big thing, right? Like this is going to be like the first mutant that was born since then, like the literal savior of their entire species. So current time, Angel flies out to go do whatever he does, and Emma and Scott land the plane, and they're going to go find out who did this. And we flash backwards in time to these Sentinels just kind of standing over the mansion, as you mentioned, and Cerebro. We're in Cerebro with Xavier and Beast, and Xavier's just kind of like lamenting everything that has happened. Of like, I used to be able to come in here and see hope and possibilities, and millions of mutants all across the world, and now I just see us slowly passing a steadily dwindling number, and we're just a few hundred. And Beast points out like, this isn't really like you, and Xavier's like, yeah, but we've never had this situation before, like absolutely not. And just then something happens and just creates a feedback loop with Cerebro and fries Xavier's brain a little bit.
Yeah, I hate the way that Mark Silvestri draws the Beast.
With this weird because he's not beastie, it's way more like cat-like, right? Like it's way more like wild cat-like than I really prefer.
Yeah, it's very ugly. It's this blip. There's a really nice little subtle bit in the art here, where they're showing all the blips, and you can see the bright blip on Alaska in the background, but they're not mentioning it. And then at the moment where he starts freaking out, it kind of blows up, the bright blip that's in Alaska. There, and that's what causes that feedback.
I'm looking at Beast Face in this panel.
Oh, yeah.
What is this? So it's the one with when Xavier first gets zapped, right? What is the black thing that's above Beast's eye? Like, does he have a little like pocket, a little flesh
hole,
pocket,
like a bird?
Yeah. But his ears are way higher, so that's not ears. What the fuck?
It's a really deep temple.
Yeah, it's
the cheekbone equivalent of his temple in Mark Silvestri land. Also, look at Professor Xavier's hand in that panel.
Oh yeah, that's not good.
It's real weird. Like his forefinger and his middle finger are like growing out of the side of his thumb.
Yeah, none of that is.
It's hideous.
Yeah,
this is what a horrible artist this guy is.
Charles collapses. And throughout the ramifications of this are seen throughout the X-Mansion in the dumbest ways possible. Like
explodes all the glass for the most part.
I mean, does it? I mean, just in the one panel though, right?
Well, in the one panel, and then the glass explodes out of Cyclops's work lamp.
Is that what's happening? Because I was like, what energy beams are being like? It's so fucking like what are we doing here? It doesn't matter, and it's just one panel, I know, but I just get so hung up on this dumb shit sometimes.
It's also that interrupts Wolverine and Nightcrawler boxing.
Yeah, that's very funny.
Like, I've never seen that before. That's weird. Emma Frost feels it, of course, as a psychic. So this is bad. Sent shockwaves throughout the whole thing. Charles, Beast is concerned, and Charles Xavier's like, I'm fine. Just get on fixing Cerebro. and he's got a little smile on his face. And he tells the team to assemble. This is because there's a new mutant.
Yep.
And that is how we started flying towards Alaska. So we go back to the town is called Cooperstown, and we go back to the rescue.
Yep.
Where it's showing the X-Men trying to save people from burning buildings and shit.
And Nightcrawler is doing his thing. This is classic X-Men stuff, right? I mean, this is all the good shit.
Yep.
And I almost called him Xavier. Scott is thinking like, oh man, this is really bad. Like if this was a mutant, displaying their power for the first time, we really need to get in touch with them and try to figure this out. Like I almost killed people, but this is horrible. Like this is a bad problem. But Wolverine has found some evidence that this was not just any accident because the Marauders were here. Because we're finding some dead Marauders around, including this dude named Blockbuster.
Yeah.
Good thing they killed Blockbuster. I mean, this was what 2007. Like Blockbuster was already dead by then. So
after this, they're going to kill the famous Marauder Hollywood video. The Marauders. I can't remember when it became canon that they're all just clones that Sinister keeps making. But I don't know if this was presented as like a shocking death or if that was canon at this point.
Yeah, who knows?
That Sinister just has unlimited Marauders. I don't know that he has unlimited Marauders because for reasons I don't understand, Gambit is with the Marauders.
Yeah, that was. I remember this like popping up and I was going like, what? I think there's some weird. I think Gambit is with the Marauders because Rogue reasons, because it love Rogue reasons. I think if I'm remembering right, it's been like I said about a year since I read this stuff, and it doesn't. A lot of the details won't stick in your brain because it's comic books.
That's how brains work.
That's how brains work. Yeah. Meanwhile, Nightcrawler has another wrinkle to this whole thing in that he has found purifiers, which are a human cult, I guess, a human group of people who just despise mutants and want to murderify them, want to purify the world from mutants.
Through a religious angle.
Yeah.
So they're very similar to the Friends of Humanity or whatever, but they're zealots.
Yeah. And we're finding more and more evidence that this was a battle between these two groups. So something really suspicious happened here.
Yes, which is part of the strength of this crossover is this cool kind of like the X-Men are on the back foot.
Yeah.
Trying to figure stuff out, which I really like. They're just like Cyclops even says, like, we're just like a half hour too late. Like if we'd been here a half hour earlier, this would have all been different. As they're kind of discussing, whether this is a trap, what it is, a woman comes out of the rubble with her child who has been horribly burned. And it's pretty nasty.
Oh yeah.
Sad stuff. They basically cannot save the child. They're all just blown away by this. Like the child is still smoking and smoldering. Emma puts her to sleep to calm her down, and then checks into her mind to see what happened. And we finally find out the purifier showed up. They're the ones with the fire. And basically set everything on fire, started setting the town on fire, basically just saying like, we don't need to kill the adults, but every kid in the town needs to die.
Yes. The adults are not a threat. And then they have some device that is tracking something because they're like the reading we're getting is from the south. And this is when the Marauders showed up with Gambit in tow. And they're doing a bunch of Marauders. And Sunfire. Yeah.
Scalp Hunter and then a couple other people. I don't remember who they are.
Yeah,
because the Marauders change all the time. They're asking whether they're too late as well. So all these groups have an interest here. The Purifiers got here first, then the Marauders, and they got into a fight.
Yep,
which is what largely destroyed the town.
And they were all headed towards the hospital. So finally, Warren, who has presumably just been circling above, just like kind of...
They show him circling in the back of a couple of scenes. It's very funny. I just kind of like, well, I'm still up here if you need me.
Yeah, there's huge billowing clouds of smoke up here, Scott. Scott, I just want to let you know that there's still a lot of ash in the air, Scott. I'm up here just surrounded by ash and smoke, Scott. If you need me, just let me know.
Scott, there's still a fire.
Scott's like, get off the comms.
Warren to Scott, let me know if you need help moving a couch. I can help.
I got a lot of free time.
Yeah, I own a truck, Scott.
Warren to Scott, did you see the fan vid I made of Game of Thrones? I thought it was really good. I set it to "Oh Death." It's a good song, and I thought it really fit. Over.
Warren Scott, have you seen Skins? Over. Just kind of having some fun here. They see that they determined basically that the purifiers killed everyone, in order to, they were just playing it safe. They did not, they took a broad swath.
Yeah.
Warren gets to the hospital and realizes now that it was a mutant birth.
Yes.
That was here, and sees that the purifiers set all the babies on fire.
Ooh, that's bad.
That's not great.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, that's not great.
Absolutely
Wolverine
not
can't
good.
smell them. His super senses aren't working because of the chemicals in blood and stuff. But they check the registry to see that there was a record of more babies than there are baby corpses. So the baby in question is probably gone. Either the purifiers or the Marauders got the kid.
Yeah. And Emma Frost is confident that the baby is what Cerebro picked up. And this is the whole reason that the Marauders and the Purifiers had this fight, because they were both going for it. But of course they have no idea which side got them or where they went. So they decide to jet. Wolverine, there's this kind of weird little conversation that comes up a couple of times about we should do something with the Marauder bodies, and Scott's like, no, we don't have any time. And then later it's we didn't find any bodies at the scene.
I wish we'd done that. Yeah. It's real weird, especially since Wolverine makes a really good point. He's like, if they find the Marauder bodies, they're going to know mutants did this, or they're going to think mutants did it. They're not going to think the Purifiers did it.
Yeah.
And Cyclops' whole thing is well, the survivors will say that we helped. And he just doesn't want to waste time, because if there's he thinks the Sinister got the baby, because the Purifiers are jabronis, and that's not a good thing.
Exactly.
They gotta go.
And it just occurred to me as I went to the next page, because we're going to check in with everybody's favorite BC, Predator X, that he was on site also tracking the baby, and he's probably eating the corpses of all of these mutants, right?
Yeah. They show him eating something.
Yeah.
He arrives last to the party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you were ever curious what happened to Blockbuster, it was eaten by Predator X.
So the design of Predator X is really problematic. To me, it looks a little bit like a kind of video game enemy design.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That I really don't like. It's kind of like a Returnal creature if it was more silver and less neon.
Okay.
Just too busy.
Oh yeah.
A lot of spikes.
Yeah.
Weird like prehensile ribs.
Mm-hmm.
On his side.
That weird thumb claw thing.
Yeah, I hate Predator X so much.
Yeah.
I wonder if he lives on Krakoa.
And he's got a horn. He's got a horn on his nose, which is not my favorite thing in the world.
And it whenever he's around, there's narration. So it's bred to hunt mutant DNA, and it's hungry. The hungry adventures of Predator X are a continuing theme throughout this crossover. This continues in Uncanny X-Men 492.
492. Yeah. There's we should mention there's some back matter pages to kind of get you up and running with the X-Men and who all these people are. But we don't care about any of that stuff because we are experts.
Yes.
So we don't need
it's just introducing the teams and stuff. This is for people who are just jumping onto the crossover.
Mm-hmm.
The first main issue that is in a one shot here, this Uncanny X-Men 492, we've it's still Ed Brubaker, but Billy Tan is doing the art, which Billy Tan is up in, the cover is David Finch. The interior art is Billy Tan, but it's the same colorist. So it ends up having the same kind of weird plasticky sense to everybody that I don't love. I've never really liked Billy Tan very much. Maybe a step up, but just barely.
Yeah. It looks really remarkably similar to me. And
yeah.
Again, it's not my favorite style in the world. I don't want to be the guy that's like, this is bad, but everybody looks kind of weird and awkward in the face. So I don't want to run the dude down or anything. It's just not my favorite art. The cover is just, the team of heroes from Uncanny X-Men, which is Wolverine, Nightcrawler, Colossus, Storm, and Angel. Out of those five, dude, Angel, just got the most. It's just the most ridiculous combo, right? What does he bring to the table with these guys?
Sexist online are constantly talking about the sexist version of this is why is the Black Widow in the Avengers?
Okay.
And then the non-sexist version is always why is Hawkeye in the Avengers?
Mm-hmm.
But the real question is why the fuck is Angel in the X-Men?
Yeah.
Being Archangel was the best thing that ever happened to that guy.
Easy. Like, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll Angel is present.
Yeah.
You know,
it's about all you get from Angel. We're going to start out with a news coverage of the event that happened in Cooperstown. This is where we know that the body could be found. Maybe some bodies that haven't been identified yet. Maybe they're the perpetrators, but a whole lot of babies were murdered. And maybe some superheroes showed up, but basically everything is a mystery. And we cut to the X Mansion where Scott and Emma are watching this on their floating 10 screens. I've really got to get one of these installs in my house. I love these.
Dude, there's no rhyme or reason to how they're laid out.
Who cares?
It's so funny. It's showing the same news footage just from different angles.
Yeah, absolutely, man. This is a Twitch streamer's like fucking dream come true, man. Just imagine like being able to sit in front of this and have it show Twitch chat on one side and like your fucking subs on the other. Can you imagine how great that would be?
That'd be wonderful. I would subscribe to twitch.tv/Scott Summers.
Yeah, I mean, look,
just him playing Go.
Do you think
against himself or whatever?
He'd be a chess guy, right? He'd be one of those weird chess dudes. Yeah. Like, he would just get really, really into chess, and then like really think about it, and then somebody would come in and just destroy him in a game, and he'd get really mad about it because they didn't play by the rules or something.
Yeah. Or Wolverine would come in and introduce him to Go.
Okay.
From Japan, and then he would just be like very, very off put by it. Yeah, his hair looks like shit in this issue.
I mean, it's so.
I need Cyclops to comb his hair back a little bit.
Yeah, like I've long been on team Slim when it comes to Cyclops, and when they beef him up like this, like the first panel of this, he doesn't look particularly beefed up. Like he's relatively thin, and then when they show him from the front, it's like, oh, like you've got like neck muscles down for like 8 inches, dude. Like what is going on? How do you even work those guys? But yeah,
thick neck Cyclops.
Yeah, this, and he's also got like a super bad haircut and a bad visor too. Like this visor doesn't even look good.
It's a bad design for Cyclops.
Yeah.
They're talking more about the bodies here. You saw the bodies have been abandoned. Like he's basically saying, Sinister maybe sent somebody back to clean up this mess. It was Predator X, of course, but he thinks that maybe Sinister grabbed all his clone bodies. They don't know about Predator X yet.
Yeah.
And they're basically saying like, we got to move, we got to get this plan into things. This is when Professor X comes in and starts yelling at him. There's a part where he's like, Scott, why didn't you tell me that you sent out a team? In the last issue, Professor X definitely said, Scott, assemble a team.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really understand this.
Meet me at the Blackbird. I think this is because the team that they're talking about is the Uncanny X-Men team, right? Like them chasing down the other ones. So this is the team that we're about to see in action. I'm assuming that's the only reason this makes sense, right? Like, so when they got back to the mansion, Scott was like, "Oh, the only place that we can find more Marauders is by finding more Marauders. So we know some of those guys. Like, let's go chase them down and beat them up." Apparently Xavier was not looped in on that. He didn't get the email, and he was very upset about it. And Scott rightfully is like, "Why? Like, when do I need your permission to lead the X-Men? Like, I'm already here. I've got my hands full. Like, I don't need to loop you in on every fucking decision. Like, you guys work on Cerebro. I'll take care of everything else for you, like I've always done."
Yeah. And just really trying to sell Xavier on it. Like, this is the first New Mutant to appear, and it's in the hands of like one of the worst people. And Scott obviously has a relationship with Mr. Sinister.
Mm-hmm.
But I love that. I'm not going to debate you on every action. Like, your track record sucks lately. You've been real flaky and shitty. I'm not going to do it. And I love this panel of Professor Xavier grabbing the back of his neck and be like, "That's not fair, Scott."
Aww.
Like, it's really good. Like, just, and they get into a fight, He's like, "Hey," and this is right after Deadly Genesis.
Yeah.
So he's like, "Hey, you're the guy who left my brother in space last month. That was during the rise and fall of the Jarrah Empire. You lied about Danger coming to life. Like, you did all that Krakoa shit. You're an asshole." And Professor X is like, "That's not really how it happened." they're getting into this fight, and eventually they cool off. He's just like, let me help, Scott. And he says, you can help by leaving me alone and fixing Cerebro.
Yeah. Get the fuck out of here.
Know your place, man.
Yeah. This is not your team anymore. Presumably an awkward thing to say to a guy who's still funding this whole operation, right? Like, are the X-Men like independently wealthy? Like, I mean, kill all bosses and everything, but I'm just saying.
Why, hey, we figured it out. That's why they keep Angel around.
That's because they need money for. That's why they keep watching all of Angel's fan vids and going and watching all of his weird anime that he makes everybody watch. That's because they just need his billions.
Everybody's got a little Google reminder to go to the water cooler and talk to Angel about whatever he's been binging on Netflix instead of going on missions.
Do you think there's just
in case Xavier decides to pull funding?
Do you think there's like a sign up sheet and it's just like who's going to take instead of which chore every week? It's like who's going to watch the dumb thing on Netflix that Angel is super obsessed with right now?
It used to be the who's going to take Gambit to the movies thing, and they just crossed it out when you joined the Marauders. Like now it's just like who's going to talk to Angel about our flag means death.
He's super obsessive. And Wolverine's on the side like, I read his fanfic last week. Okay, I feel like that's enough. I have done enough for this.
Bub, I'm not doing it.
AO3.com/TheRealAngel82.
They kind of psychically argue a little bit. Cyclops is like, yeah, I'll let you know when we need you. This isn't about pride. And Xavier says, I know what it is. And then he thinks at him, it's disappointment. And Cyclops is like, close enough. Like, it's real weird for them to save a little bit of face in front of Emma, who's just been standing there watching these two adult men yell at each other.
It's also like, I mean, she's a telepath. Like, presumably.
Yeah, I guess that's true too.
I didn't understand
he's doing that.
Like, I feel like this is maybe just practice or something. Like, not practice, but like a habit that Xavier got into. And then, like, it would be really fucking annoying. Like, if you finished your sentences in my brain all the time, I would be very angry with you. Like, imagine how awkward and awful that must be.
Yeah. It'd feel really weird. We cut over to the team going looking for Marauders. Mm-hmm. Angel, out of the loop. Why didn't Scott tell us that the Marauders were holding Rogue? I love Wolverine. He's like, what am I, Dear Abby? Like, talk to Scott.
What the fuck do I know about this, dude?
Hold your fucking hand, Warren. They're trying to find the ex-acolytes. And the reason why is because the ex-acolytes are friends with Amelia Voight. Amelia Voight is in the Marauders now.
Yep.
And we're introduced to some acolytes, some of which I don't really know here, including, as he's flying, Gargoyle.
I think
how do you pronounce Gargoyle?
This has got to be Gargoyle, right? Like they're just like a weirdly racist Italian kind of thing, like a New York Gargoyle. Like I don't know. I also thought like maybe it was like a play because it's a woman, like a gargoyle, like a.
Oh, sure.
Right? Like
Popeye was describing a lady gargoyle?
Yeah. I don't know what the history of gargoyle is, but it's nothing about it is probably good.
I've never seen gargoyle in my life, but she obviously gets the drop on Angel.
Oh, it's an actual word
here. Oh, no, yeah. What is it? Is it French for gargoyle?
It's as gargoyle from a word for throat.
Oh. Oh no, it's the acolyte's throat.
Oh God. She's the throat goat, Gary. How did we miss this?
Throatus. The throat in chief has appeared.
The gargoyle. This is a specific dragon from mythology. So maybe her powers are like from this dragon or something.
Well, she looks like a dragon. She's got wings and claws.
Yeah. Somebody got on. Well, probably not. Well, it probably was like Wikipedia went to looking for. Yeah. I want a dragon lady. What should I call her?
I really like how Colossus comports himself in this issue. Like he pops in. He's just like, once this happens, they're springing their trap. He busts into where the acolytes are hiding out. And there's two acolytes here. One of which is this is a little disappointing to me. Neophyte, who can phase through things. Neophyte was the acolyte that betrayed the acolytes in like an early like X-Men 299 or something. And one of my favorite 90s issues of X-Men is when Colossus joined them for a little while and they do a trial of Neophyte and Colossus has to be his lawyer. It's a really good issue. Like It's just all talk and stuff. It's very unusual for an early 90s.
Yeah, and
thing.
also
It's like
for
a
Colossus to
courtroom
be a
drama.
lawyer. Something I've never even...
Yeah, lawyer Colossus.
Mhm.
You know? What's next? Hulk Colossus? And the other one here is Vindaloo, which I think is one of the worst supervillain names ever. Like,
Yeah.
he's a fire guy who's named after spicy food.
Yeah, not good.
That
That
sucks.
sucks bad, dude.
Like, that shit sucks, man.
It's just a real obvious tier list when it comes to some of these mutant names and everything, because Jesus, yeah.
Acolytes have seen better times.
Yeah.
I think is the takeaway here. This is a bad version of the Acolytes.
I like Projector. Wolverine's fighting Projector. And when I saw, like, you know, you might as well come out, Projector. I can smell you. And then, like, immediately afterwards, you see his powers. I thought he would be like a like, not a mind control dude, but like an illusionist kind of dude, like a projector. But no, like, he just makes pink bubbles that are hard and also brittle.
Yep.
Like, because every time you see him,
he
like,
he
hit
makes
somebody
a brittle
with
TK
yeah.
thing, yeah.
Real weird.
I don't know anything about Projector either. Nightcrawler, Neophyte tries to get, and also, like, can you imagine still being named Neophyte like 20 years after? That's like horrible code
Yeah,
name.
can't I just be called Fight at this point? Like, there's nothing, like, I'm just here.
Yeah, just Journeyman. Nightcrawler starts teleporting him around in the air to freak him out, you know, and he can't phase in anything to use his powers at this point. And Vindaloo smashed Colossus through the wall and knocked him down. So the fight is on. This is cool. This is a good X-Men fight.
Yeah.
Yep.
We're going to take a break because Scott has invited or has told Jamie, aka the Multiple Man, as well as Richter, who is now freshly depowered, to come to the X Mansion. And you find out pretty quick that, like, they were asked, but they didn't want to come. And Emma Frost just was like, "Yeah, you're just going to come. I'm going to make you do it." And the reason they didn't want to come is because, like, there's some stress between various X teams right now because of all of this decimation stuff that's been happening.
Yeah. At this point, X Factor is a detective agency led by Madrox. It's a really good run from Peter David. We're going to read, that's the next issue, is from that. But it's generally like a really fun, good run.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
They also brought along Layla Miller. Layla Miller's worth explaining because we haven't done House of M on this show yet. Layla Miller is really like one of the biggest, like, character kind of redemptions I've ever seen. Because she's horrible in House of M. She's just like literally a Deus Ex Machina, like a character there to tell other characters in an alternate reality, like, hey, doesn't this seem wrong?
Yeah.
You know, maybe you're in a story. And that's all she does. She came out of nowhere and did that. And then Peter David took her and made her a character in X Factor. And, like, she's not the best character or anything, but she was fucking awful in House of M.
Yeah. And she's very much a Brian Bendis character who's, like, just very more wit than any kind of actual character underneath it, right? Like, she just says things that sound like either profound or funny or whatever, and you get some of that throughout the Peter David run too. But it's so much better. It also helps that she's, like, grown up a little bit too, like she's, you know, a little bit more mature,
not a little kid.
Yeah. So this is, you know, awkward at first. So Cyclops has to apologize. Then they bring out Layla Miller. And then, of course, Layla, her whole thing is that she knows things. So before Cyclops can even kind of lay out his plan, she's kind of butting in and was like, oh, I know I need to be here because I need to be with Jamie. He's going to need me for what comes next. Even though I don't actually know what comes next, I just know he's going to need me.
Yes. And what Cyclops has brought them here to do is we're going to find out what Jamie's off to do. He informs them what's going on. We're going to find out next issue. Madrox, or Richter rather, is going to have to infiltrate the Purifiers because he doesn't have powers.
Yeah.
Now, I really like this era of the X-Men where the characters who used to be X-Force and New Mutants are getting respect.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like Richter, it's really easy for me, who, like, grew up reading those comics where he was, like, basically a little kid, to think of him that way. But, like, no, he's been in the game since the mid 80s.
Yeah.
You know, like, he's a real superhero. He can do this.
Yeah. This is the kind of shit that we trained him to do. Like, and he's been doing the training for a long time.
Yeah. Layla Miller and Madrox have to go meet with Forge.
I do like when she butts in is like, we're going to go see Forge, and then looks over is like, who's Forge? Like, she just knows things.
Yep.
Meanwhile, in the lab, Xavier and the Beast are looking at the Purifier's tech that they brought because they assumed that they were using Nimrods because they captured a Nimrod or salvaged a broken Nimrod at some point. But Beast is like, that. I don't think this is that. This looks really familiar in a weird ways. And I'm gonna have to go through my files to get it. And Xavier, the most unsettled person in the world, is like, maybe Scott will figure it out. And I'm like, what
it's so pouty. And what is he doing here in the first place? Like, what is he going to? I'm a tech expert. I should be disassembling this shit. He's just here to like. Nobody wants to talk to him. Yeah. It's real sad sack Xavier shit.
Do you think he's just over there on that keyboard just making, like, he's not even like typing, he's just going tick, 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 clack, 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 with his mouth? Yeah, clack, 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 clack.
Well, Hank, I Googled purifiers again. It seems
there's no new information on Google News about purifiers, Hank.
No, my Google alert for purifiers I set up still has got no new information. I'll continue monitoring over here.
Xavier to Hank, I don't have anything new. And he's like, you don't have to do that. We're not on a mission. What do you, why, we don't even like it when Warren does that. Like, and he pays for everything now.
Yeah. Warren's in a fight and he just like buzzes, Warren to Hank and Charles. Have you guys seen What We Do in the Shadows? Over. I love this pouty, I'm sure Scott will get to the bottom of it. And I like Beast's response where he's like, he will, like, you trained him, take pride in that. I don't know what else to tell you, man. Like, he literally says, I don't know what else to tell you.
Yeah.
Get over your fucking self, old man.
And then he just pouts off. I'm going to go check the rerouting. Okay.
Yeah. He just made that up, I'm sure.
I love this whole page of him walking to Cerebro because he passes by like the obvious conversation where, Cyclops is putting the plan in motion.
Leadership is happening.
Yeah. And he just, as he like looks down and he's got the big frown. Xavier's sad. Dude, it's very funny.
It's very like what is it? Arrested Development, like Charlie Brown music walk.
But he goes to Cerebro and just kind of looks up and presumably is just going to be modeling for a while, which is when we check back in over to the team in the field where Wolverine is just hacking off a bunch of projector stuff. Nightcrawler has now dropped Neophyte just out of the sky, and Angel grabs him at the last minute. And this is a classic X-Men trade-off. So they were all fighting one person, and now Angel has Neophyte. Nightcrawler takes out Gargoyle really, really quickly, and then Wolverine comes in to blast this dude whose name I've already forgotten.
Vindaloo.
That's it, Vindaloo.
Like the Indian food.
Yeah. Vindaloo.
Yeah, real frustrating there. And they're basically like, hey, why are you doing this? Are you doing this to protect like a Exodus? Seriously? This is so stupid. And he threatens them like, and he's like, they give in. What do you X-Men want to know? So they're going to tell him where Amelia Voigt is. We go to Scott post shower, and he's in his bedroom while Emma is just in full uniform. They're talking about just basically expositing, brooding about what's going on.
They put Vindaloo in that cartoon that we never. Or no, this is Wolverine and the X-Men. Vindaloo makes an appearance in Wolverine and the X-Men.
That's fucking nuts.
I mean, right?
Yeah. This is this brand new acolyte named Sriracha. Like it's dumb. It's the worst name. There's so many hot names.
Yeah, I mean, there's a zillion of them. Like you could just go any. I was just kind of skimming. I wanted to find out. The trivia section. Oh, thank you, Marvel Fandom Wiki. Thank you so much for this gift. The trivia section for Vindaloo. In reality, Vindaloo is an Indian dish made with pork preserved in red wine, chili pepper, and stewed with garlic. It is known for its heat.
Thanks.
No history on why they called it.
I think it's a Claremont creation, which makes a lot of sense.
Fabian, that name that we've pronounced several times.
Nicieza.
Alan Davis and Fabian and Lionel Francis Yu.
Oh, that's the artist who did that. Huh.
Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to distract us. Yeah, we're just kind of expositing in Cyclops and Emma's bedroom. Boy, I hate thick-necked Colossus with this weird neck muscle thing. It just
or Cyclops.
Did I doing it again?
He's
Jesus fucking Christ, dude! What the hell?
You didn't do it at all during the last, and now it's back. It's just in an issue. We can no longer cover comics where Cyclops and Colossus appear. Both.
It's a weird.
We have to choose from now on.
We have to make sure that they aren't both in there at the same time. Anyway,
this issue doesn't really have an end. They're just like, Cyclops is like, I think there's something I'm missing, and then we cut over to our 1-page subplot of Predator X going somewhere.
Yeah, he's just leaving.
These are so funny. Just the hungry adventures of Predator X.
This is the first issue of this Messiah Complex that will have a Furies file at the end. And I don't know why this exists. It's just random facts about people. Like,
yeah,
I don't, again, it's weird. Like, Psylocke is a natural blonde. Thanks, Nick Fury. That's a weird.
Professor X has been crippled and healed 4 times.
Yeah. Storm's real name, Aurora, means beauty. Okay.
Yeah. But then there's also weird meta stuff. This is like the Fury Files, but then the final thing is Storm was originally conceived by Dave Cockrum as the Black Cat. And I'm like, why does Nick Fury know about Dave Cockrum?
Yeah, it's because Nick Fury is in the MCU verse and is writing all of this. So that in the MCU universe, it's, the X-Men comics exist, which is how we're going to get the X-Men.
I love this backdrop, this like male living spaces backdrop for this thing too, with the CD being face down, so it doesn't get scratched, and then just a dirty fucking keyboard with mid 2000s resolution digital camera.
Mm-hmm.
What a blast from the past. That's so good.
Thank you, Nick Fury. And then next up is X Factor, issue number 25, with our same cover template, but with a really, really cool cover of Layla and Jamie like going into weird universe and getting all stretchy and crazy looking. The art on this is really, really good.
They're going through a portal. They're melting into little pieces, like parts of Jamie's finger. It's coming off. It's real cool looking.
Yeah.
This is also David Finch, I think, on the cover. The actual interior artist is Scott Eaton, who is somebody who I don't know very well. But it's the same colorist that everyone's been using, or it was just the colorist at the style, or at the time for Marvel. So everything still kind of looks cohesive.
Yeah.
The only reason why I mention that is because the next issue that goes out the window.
Yeah, it's just a wide turn on the next issue. We're going to start out in Chelsea, New York, where with some purifiers. They're in a church, like the purifiers do, when none other than Wolfsbane show up and attacks one of these dudes, runs away. They all try to chase her, and some rando like shoots at her and presumably hits her. But she's able to escape in a car. And then we look over, and who was it that was shooting Wolfsbane but our boy Richter?
Richter undercover. I love the idea that the purifiers, guns in this country. Like, I understand that, like, that's a very current eventsy kind of thing. But, like, I just happened to be walking by a church with a gun, and I saw a werewolf come out, so I just decided to immediately draw on it and shoot it a bunch. And the purifiers, like, makes sense to us. God bless America.
I should be used to it, but like, and I don't know how often you see. You probably never, but like, just the sheer amount of people that are open carrying now down here is terrifying. Like,
I fucking hate it, dude. I hate it.
I grew up around guns. I grew up shooting guns. I grew up. My grandfather was a very sweet guy. When he realized, like, when he was taking me hunting, that I was having the worst time ever, he was like, you don't have to do this, right? Like, we could just do anything else. Like, you like to fish, why don't we just go fishing? And I was like, thank you, Grandpa. Thank you, Papa. I really appreciate it. Hunting under the sea. Yeah. And it's just like I know how to use them, but like I just like the idea of like wearing a gun to go to a restaurant is so fucking sick and disgusting and perverted to me. Like, why? Like, what are you gonna do, bad boy? Like, what are you gonna do with that? Not gonna do a goddamn thing for it.
I feel deeply unsafe in a room with a gun. Basically, no matter what. Like the gun could be in a safe, and I don't want it in the room.
Yeah.
With me. I dislike it immensely. It's a really strong emotional reaction.
Yeah, it's weird.
I have no history with them. I wasn't the victim of it. I mean, like I told the story before. I narrowly missed that school shooting at the college, but didn't start then. I've just never dug them. I don't think they're cool, and I am scared of them because they're designed to kill people, and it's the only thing that they do. You point them at things you want to stop living, and I just don't want to be around that.
The sketchiest thing in the world was when for a while Autumn was just staying home by herself because I was traveling quite a bit more than she was, and she was like, we live in the country, and she was a little paranoid, especially because when we lived in Phoenix, like our house was broken into a couple of times and our car was broken into a couple of times, so she was just like general paranoid. And I was like, well, why don't I get you like a little 22, which is like a small gun, and I'll teach you how to shoot it. And she was like, okay, that would make me feel better. So I casually mentioned this to my coworker, and he's like, I got a buddy trying to sell a 22 right now. I was like, oh yeah? He's trying to sell it cheap. But I'm like, cool, give me his number. So some random number texts me and is like, hey, I got that 22. Kevin mentioned that you wanted it. I was like, yeah, how much? And he's like, couple hundred. And I was like, cool, like, where do you want to meet at? He goes, what about the Texaco outside Toys R Us? And I was like, okay. So I went to the Texaco beside the Toys R Us and stopped at the ATM and grabbed I think it was exactly $200, and I handed this dude $200, and he handed me a gun with like several boxes of ammunition. And the idea of like me just casually doing that and like extrapolated to everybody in this country is just fucking awful, dude. Like
literally nothing stopping you from just walking into that Toys R Us and shooting people.
No, nothing. Absolutely nothing. Except like my own morality.
You didn't have to do anything. Yeah. Which we all know that we should put a lot of faith in the individual morality of American citizens. It's a real stable, insane lot we got going on here. I fucking hate it.
Yeah, dude,
I hate
bad.
Guns. I hate guns.
And now I don't think Autumn could tell you where that 22 is. I know where it is, but I don't think Autumn could tell you where in the house the 22 is or where the ammunition for it is. So
more moves. It's a fun little game. it's finders keepers. So the purifiers know it, like the guy's like, hey, is that what I thought it was? And they're like, damn right, friend. Mutant. You know what's your name? Like he's getting himself recruited.
Yeah.
He makes up a fake name. His friends call him Jake. Wolverine is in the back, or not Wolverine, Wolfsbane is in the back of the truck. And this was all staged. She had squibs, they go off. So it made it look like she got shot. She didn't really get shot. She's complaining, but it's all fine.
Yeah.
And the New Mutants at the time they're radioing this into Scott. They want to talk to Scott. This will be for a subplot that's coming.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Lila and Jamie show up with at Forge's door in Dallas, Texas, and it's something called Forge's Airy, which is
he has an airy. Like a bird
airy. And the building even has like bird stuff all over it. I'm sure this is like the
it's got to be like indigenous people.
Yeah, thank you. I was trying to because I didn't want to say Indian. So
I don't remember. I don't remember which tribe Forge is from.
Yeah, I'm sure the entire thing is problematic because it was because it was written by a comic book writer. But whatever. Lila's got a Hello Kitty umbrella, which is very cute. And they walk inside. And they meet Forge. Forge uses his weird tech to dry them off because it's raining, and starts to fill them in on what's going on. Forge has created a time machine, which is, or more accurately, a GPS for time and space called the Chronal Tracer. And what he has found is that there used to be multiple branching timelines, but when House of M happened, when Decimation happened, all of the branches involving mutants flatlined. They all got collapsed, and when this mutant baby happened, all of a sudden it branched. So they want to investigate this, which is why they hired Multiple Man the Investigator.
We cut over to this issue cuts a lot. This was a thing that Peter David did a lot in this run. To a hospital, Sacred Heart Hospital in Santa Cruz. Where Nurse Amelia Voigt is checking in on somebody who just came in, maniac who walked in front of an ambulance. It turns out this is Wolverine. This makes no fucking sense. Wolverine says, I figured this would be the quickest way to get in. I guarantee you getting hit by an ambulance and getting carried in by the ambulance is not quicker than walking into a hospital. Having done the latter, it's real quick.
Having done the former, I can tell you it's a lot easier just to, especially if you're like me without a mutant healing factor. But I mean, like it's a long drive. Like they're gonna do a lot of stuff to you. Like imagine them like sticking needles in this dude's arm and like healing around, like,
and they're healing around the needle.
Yeah,
and they're just like, well, better get him to the hospital. Well, not our business.
Every once in a while, Wolverine shows like a little flash of theatricality that you just really have to enjoy. Once Amelia realizes who this is, she ghosts out. She's missed person. And of course, when she ghosts out, the rest of the team is outside waiting for her, including Storm.
Yeah. Yep. Amelia Voight can turn into a gas. Yeah. That is her thing. And Storm is a hard counter to that, because she gets wind. So she swirls her up and basically knocks her into the ground. She cannot run. The X-Men are kind of dicks here. Like Nightcrawler's like, you should not have run, Amelia. You cannot protect them. And it's like, she's just working a job.
Yeah. Wolverine pretended to be in an accident or excuse me, Wolverine legitimately caused an accident, like probably ruined some people's day. Not to mention the city has to replace a bus because they hit his adamantium skeleton. Like, what do you,
did he think he stepped in front of the ambulance? Like, that's fucking wild, man. This is one of the X-Men's dumbest plans. Yeah, he stepped in front of the ambulance.
They could have literally just
had to pull in another ambulance to carry him to the hospital, I bet.
And also probably the other people that were in the ambulance. Like the driver of the ambulance, the EMT. Oh, man.
Or the victim that was in the back of the ambulance.
Hopefully there wasn't.
Got displaced for Wolverine's shitty Trojan horse. What a dumb plan, X-Men.
Super dumb plan. But they catch up with her and she just tells them, okay, I'll just tell you, like, you're gonna want to pack something warm because you're going to hell and it's frozen over. But then we switch back to Forge's area.
She says very specifically, like, they're like, why are you protecting them, or why are you you don't have to protect them? And she's like, you guys are idiots. Like, I'm not protecting them, I'm protecting you from them. Like, I didn't want to tell you because you guys are gonna get in over your head.
Yeah.
So yeah, pack something warm. We'll cut back over to Forge's Erie.
And they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna, send multiple copies of you into the different timelines, and they're gonna report back with what they find. And Jamie's like, well, we can try that, but they haven't exactly been like great copies lately. And then so he makes a couple of copies, and then he's got two good dudes.
Mm-hmm. I love this aspect. I mean, this is what Madrox, the miniseries, led into this was about, and it's such a genius move for this character. Jamie is in that run I alluded to earlier, that Joe Casey run, and he's just very generic. Like, he just has the powers. Making the different duplicates he have be different aspects of his personality is, it fixed the character.
Yeah.
Like, took the character from being something that nobody really knew what to do with to something really cool. Him having to like check, like, what parts of me are you guys? I think is really cool.
I was on Twitter the other day, and I follow Will Smith, the games guy, not the Will Smith, not the Will Smith, but the other Will Smith. And he's been working on a what looks like a really, really cool VR game, or maybe he was just sharing this. I don't remember. It doesn't matter. Where you basically like make a copy of yourself doing something to set up these like factory lines, essentially. So like you hammer something, and then like you set it to copy, and then like when you leave, your little copy just sits there and hammers stuff, and then you just get another copy to hand it a nail or whatever, right? And it just, like, as I was watching the little trailer for it, which looked very cute, I was like, what if you did this with like Jamie Madrox? Like, what if
this is a multiple man game?
Yeah, like what if you could make an X-Men game that was literally just like building a factory with something like that? I think that would be really neat.
That's really rad. It's a good idea. These are two good guys.
Yeah,
they're going to be fine. They set them up to go into the chrono, the time machine. Mm-hmm. They send one through and nothing happens. They're going to go send the other one through, and Layla Miller runs and tackles that one to get sent into the future with them.
Yep.
And this is not according to the plan. Madrox freaks out. He's like, hey, we have to stop this. Forge's like, it's too late. It's a one-way trip. He's like, what the fuck does that mean? He's like, yeah, we don't know how to get people back. They're going to die Like, the idea is your dupes will find out this knowledge, kill themselves, and then you'll get the knowledge back.
Yeah.
And you obviously can't do that with Layla Miller, who is not a duplicate.
Yeah. And, he's mad about this of like, you condemned Layla too. And he's like, I didn't do anything. She jumped in. Like, that was not part of the plan. Yeah. But the argument is over before it even begins because this Jamie's eyes roll up in the back of his head and he just collapses on the floor.
Yes. We cut back to the school with the New Mutants team. I have not spent very much time with this New Mutants run.
Yeah, me either.
It was happening at the same time I was reading reviews of X-Men comics all the time. So I kind of have an idea of it. But other than a couple of these characters, like I know who X-23 is, I know who Rockslide is. I know who the unfortunately named Anole is, but there's not I don't know everybody's name.
Yeah.
They're being real whiny babies. They're doing classic New Mutant shit where they're like, put us in, coach. Like this is about the Purifiers. We have history of the Purifiers. Why are you not using us in this fight? And there's a really great moment. Like Rockslide is like, you think maybe we can't take it, huh? And Cyclops just blast him, like no hesitation, just like, fuck you, it's very good. Like you are out of your depth, kids.
And he even offers them a chance to let them go. You mentioned that they're being kind of like bratty students, but I do want to mention like a little bit later we're going to learn that most people reading this probably already knew at the time, but me, I did not. That the Purifiers like broke into the mansion and literally murdered a bunch of their friends, and they kind of have a chip on their shoulder about this, and I think it's with a good reason. Like they want to go in and fuck this up, like even if it's a little like immature. It seems like Cyclops is just like you think Cyclops would be a little bit more understanding about that, right?
He basically says like your time will come. Like I'll put you in, but I'm doing a chess game. Here like strategy matters because the stakes are so high. Mm-hmm. Like I understand both sides of it. The thing when I remember reading the comics, like reading the reviews of New Mutants at the time, it was a big criticism is that it was just like a nonstop grim death march.
Gotcha.
Like they were constantly introducing characters just to kill them off. And it just happened like every other issue. So they're going to disobey. That's what we're going to get into the next issue. In this one, we go back to Richter. Richter is getting scanned for mutant thing, and he's nervous about it because he had his powers taken away, but he doesn't know what's going to show up on the scanner, and the guy makes him get scanned at gunpoint. It's serious shit. But it comes up negative. He has no powers. Nope. And I love the subtlety of Richter kind of like making small talk, but still trying to gather info.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Did you guys make it?
Where'd you get it?
Yeah, like he actually, I really enjoy it when they put a guy in this role and he's good at it.
Undercover is a really cool dramatic situation.
Yeah.
It's neat. A trope that works on me.
And I also like that the Puritans just can't help themselves because, standard OPSEC, you shouldn't be introducing new members to like the big secrets, right? But instead, this dude is just so hyped that they have all of this cool tech that they show him a secret wall. And I love that Jamie's like, Richter is like, that wall is moving. And like he hasn't seen a zillion more crazy shit go down in front of his eyes.
He forgot about the danger room.
Yeah. But inside is just all like they've got tanks and guns and ammunition and crazy shit. Like it looks wild.
Yep. And they have camps everywhere. Like they're like, this is not our whole operation. It's not just this one church. Wait until you see Washington. Like this is actually a small cell with all this shit. So Purifiers are a big fucking deal. And he is shocked by this. And that's the ending. We don't get to see where Predator X is at right now.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. We get Fury's files again. And then a really embarrassing dated thing where if you could date one Marvel character, who would it be and why? Where they ask all these creators who they would date, and this is very, very old school.
You say it's old school. I mean, this is 2007.
I mean, I don't think they would do it the same way now. I guess is what I mean.
I don't know. Like, it's hard for me to believe that they like anybody did this at all. I don't know. It's just
I guess that's There's some grossness. Chris Yost, who is the writer for the New Mutants, is like, who would you date? And he's like, anyone drawn by Frank Cho. Frank Cho draws really cheesecakey women with huge boobs. So he's basically just being like, yeah, boobs.
Craig Kyle also has a pretty gross response where he says Mystique because then I could date anyone that I liked.
Yeah. And that writing team, a little gross. And very of the time, there's one woman on the staff. Marvel has gotten better about this. It's not good, Frank Cho, Wasp, because she's rich and emotionally damaged.
Cool.
Fucking excuse me?
Cool.
Like, it's pretty gross.
Yeah.
This fucking sucks. There's one woman on staff and she chooses Gambit, which I want to warn you. Yeah.
Actually, just Straczynski did the Wasp as well. At least that way, the stingers would be out where you could see them and you could duck.
Yeah, as opposed to what, my man?
Yeah, what?
Like,
yes. This is a guy who calls all of his ex-girlfriends crazy.
100%. Most of the people on this page do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
You could Matt Fraction, who is like now a little bit more woke than these people. He chooses Galactus. He does like a comedy answer because he wants to not do the boys club bullshit.
Yep.
Which I kind of respect. But yeah, this sucks. And then the final issue we're talking about on this episode is New X-Men. I keep calling them New Mutants, but it's New X-Men.
Dude, I'm sorry to bring us back. I just saw Bendis's response. Did you see that?
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, we got to get off this page. I'm so sorry. I'll just get mad about it.
It's really frustrating.
Yeah, it's just so gross. It's just like what is exactly what is wrong with comic books, just in a fucking nutshell. Anyway,
and it has gotten. I'm not saying it's over. It has gotten a little bit better. Like there are more ladies who write for X-Men. They moved away from this. I don't think corporations are ever good-hearted. They moved away from it because it didn't make them money. But it's very I say old school. I do mean like 10 years ago, not like ancient history.
Sure.
It's every once in a while you get confronted with how shitty things used to be exactly how recently.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's pretty mind blowing.
And I say that in 2007, I was 27 years old, and like, I don't know. I feel like the person I am now is so different. Like, who knows what I would have said if this had been presented to me? But like, I don't know. Who knows? It doesn't matter. There's a
time in my life where I would have been like, which X-Men do I want to date? At the time this comic came out, I remember just flipping past this without giving it a second look. Like it didn't bother me, but it didn't entice me. That's where I was at 27.
And now you just look at it in the context of like every single unpaid intern, especially who was a woman, that had to like probably work on this and be around this. Yes. And like you see, like I feel like I would have just skimmed past this in 2007, and like in 2022 you see this and you see like it's just so easy to imagine all of the internal bullshit that went along with it, that like
totally
people probably had to suffer.
Some little girl who's into comics reading this.
Yeah, exactly. Like or someone who is really into Hope going back to try to find blah blah blah, and then seeing
God.
It's so bad.
Yeah. You imagine anybody like, oh, you like comics? Do you want to work with these people? Well, this guy says he wants to date the Wasp because she's emotionally damaged and rich.
Yeah.
Do you still want to like work on a comic where maybe this guy draws it and you have to like work really closely with this guy? Fucking sucks. I wish people could just be goddamn cool.
Yeah.
It's not hard. Like it is not hard not to be a shit in this way.
But
you can just shut up. You don't have to like devote your whole life to social justice to not actively make things worse.
Yes, absolutely. You could just not hit on your coworkers. This is
shut the fuck up.
This is a beaten horse, even between you and I think. But we randomly, I couldn't get anything to. We were watching some other show and then like it disappeared or something. Like something weird happened, so we were like, let's just open up Amazon and click on the first thing so we can just have something while we're watching dinner or whatever. And it turned out to be The Office. And boy, like the difference in watching The Office as when it was coming out, and then even like 5 years ago and now, like it's so funny, dude. It's so hilarious. And it's just bad. It's just bad, dude.
There's some rough stuff. Like I love The Office.
Yeah,
like I rewatched The Office not too long ago. Like I adore The Office, but we have come, again, never saying we've made it, but there has been some progress, because even going back that recently feels pretty shocking sometimes.
And like there's some really funny episodes. Like it blew me away that in the second season you get the episode where like Michael closes the deal at Chili's and they're reading the movie plot that he wrote at the same time back at the office or whatever.
Great episode.
Yeah, it's a tremendous episode, and it's just I just realized
the character's name is Catherine Zeta-Jones as well.
Yeah, it's so good.
So funny.
What's a dwigt? There's some real funny stuff, and then like at the end of that episode, like you get that situation that which can happen at coworkers where you get a little liquored up and something good happens and like you make out or whatever, and then rush home and go make a mistake, and then just like at the same time all of that happening, Jim is like, you could say what we did was a kind of a date, and like he's like, oh Jim, you're a fucking weirdo.
Jim's a creepy bully.
Yeah.
In retrospect. Yeah, it's still, but I will always forgive The Office because I think that the dinner party episode is kind of perfect television.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I've never seen a bad relationship portrayed that accurately. Like it's
good,
very accurate.
It's so hilarious, dude. It's so funny. Anyway, we're going to New X-Men issue number 44. Speaking of Chris Yost, that's what we're about to be reading. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a bunch of new X-Men people, going. I know some of them.
Yeah, I don't really know this crew very well.
Yeah.
The cover is David Finch drawing them again, which is interesting because the main artist for this book was Humberto Ramos, and other times have been more cartoony artists as well. I think we have talked about Humberto Ramos before.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
In this, it's real cartoony and exaggerated. Everybody is huge. It's not to my taste. Like this out of all the people we've talked about, I am the most comfortable saying like this is not bad. Like this is just because there's definitely a style to it, right? Like It doesn't feel like he's being generic.
No, at least at least it's like different, right? At least he's like, this is different and it's consistent, and it may not be to my taste, but it's I'm not going to call it bad at all. I love
the
that
blocking is fine, like the storytelling is clear enough, like it's functional.
We start out in the Canadian Rockies where what we calling this dude, like Vinda Woo? Is
Fire
that what
puke? Yeah,
Fire puke?
Vinda 2.
Yeah, Vinda 2. Is just vomiting fire on his campsite when Predator X comes out of nowhere and just eats him alive. And then
finally
we jump over to the Xavier Institute for Higher Learning, where this team of new X-Men are extremely angry that they're being kept at school.
Real quick before we move on to that, I really like Predator X after he eats this guy, lifting his head up and he's got blood in his mouth and he does sniff, but sniff is done in like the scary sound effect. Sniff. Sniff. I'm Predator X. We go back to our crew. There are too many of these fucking characters as well.
Yeah,
which of course there are, because they have to kill them every other fucking issue.
And I don't.
But
and
there's
like,
so many.
There's not a whole lot of like. They normally in these comics, like they go out of their way to explain like what their powers are, what they do, but they're not really fighting, so we don't really get to see what they do, and we don't get that kind of back and forth. This is just conversation between them, this argument, and they don't really explain much about who they are, which is fine. Like this is issue 44 of a new X-Men run. Like you probably should have an idea of what that is already. But it's just like us crossover people out here going like, I don't know. You tell me, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's worth noting, like the idea of crossovers is to get people into your book. So even though, this is issue 40, maybe they didn't want to spend tons of time on it, but they could have spent some time because this was undoubtedly, maybe X Factor, but the worst or second worst selling title.
Yeah.
Out of these, the fewest people were familiar with these characters out of, everyone knows who Cyclops and Wolverine are, who's picking up this crossover. Not everybody knows who Prodigy and Hellion are.
Exactly. Do you know the name of the blue-haired chick?
Nope.
Okay.
Surge, Shock, Zap.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. Zuzzy Zaz. I don't know.
She's really, really upset at being left behind, and really upset with Cyclops for forcing them to do that. Her teammates, actually, her name, it said right here, Nori is her name, but who knows what her code name is? But
she's got electric powers, I think.
Nori is complaining that they get left behind, and this dude David is like, hey, Cyclops, like, if he had a reason to keep us back, and like we just need to follow. And that's when Xavier shows up and is like, Cyclops was right. He's keeping information from you to protect you, but maybe we can, I know a thing or two about training mutants. Maybe I can help you out. And wow, Xavier, have you picked the
this
wrong
arc for Xavier? Like he just keeps going. Like he's like, well, the X-Men don't need me anymore. Maybe these new kids will, would accept. Does anybody need a trainer? It's like the next issue, I'm expecting him to be on the highway off ramp with like a sign that says we'll train mutants for food.
Yeah. We'll train mutants and or normal kids.
Yeah. We'll do anything, and Nori flips out.
Absolutely.
Just blows up at him because he was not around when the purifiers came and killed a bunch of their people.
Yeah,
there. I don't think it was his fault, if I recall. I think he might have been off rebuilding Genosha or something. But
it's still like, hey, I'm living in your mansion. I'm at your school. And when people came in here and murdered all my friends, you weren't here to help us. And like, as the most powerful telepath on Earth, like probably could have helped, right? Like started this thing. I'm sure especially from a teenager point of view of like, you started this thing and then abandoned us. And then now a lot of my friends are dead. And I really like this line from her where she's leaving. She goes, there's nothing you could teach us, Professor. We already know how to die, which is it's a little grimdark, but it's also just like fuck you, Professor X.
It's very teen. Mm-hmm. It's like a well-observed teen line. Mm-hmm. Prodigy, who's there, is like, hey, Professor, don't take it too hard. It's been a rough year. We cut back over to this hospital in the Eyrie, basically where Madrox is in this coma, and they're trying to figure out what's going on. They need Emma, but Emma's not available right this second. And Forge is talking to Scott, basically, just saying like, what are we going to do? They're just checking in on this plot.
Yeah. He's not waking up. They don't really, and the big part of this is that Scott's willing to like risk Jamie's life if he doesn't wake up, just on the information that they may be able to get, because they have to know what is happening. And it starts this whole thing where Cyclops is willing to do almost anything because it's saving his entire species. So
yeah, the much better looking Cyclops from this artist.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like it's not hard to be better looking, but this is better hair and better shades.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Cutting back to the crew, the young crew, and they're basically discussing whether they want to sneak out and take the fight to them. Nori is making this, they killed 45 of our friends, giving a good idea of how much death was in this book. If they don't kill the main teams, they're going to come for us. We have to take the fight to them. Who's with me? We're going to sneak off campus and do this fight. And we kind of go through our group. And again, there's way too many fucking characters here to keep everybody straight. Julian, who's known as Hellion, he says he's in. I think this character's name is Mercury.
Would make sense.
She says she's in. Dust is like, I don't know. Rock slides in, Anole is in, and Pixie's like, I don't want to kill anybody, but I'll teleport you there.
Yeah.
Pixie really glowed up in modern comics.
Yeah.
Like she looks real fucking weird here.
She really does. And I like Pixie a lot. But this is a kind of a weird vibe for her. And they asked Josh, and Josh is like, if I go with you, I'm going to kill every single one of them. I don't want to do that. And then
the healing guy.
Yeah. And then X-23, I think this is X-23.
It is, but you'd never fucking know it because the character designs are all over the place.
It's so weird.
Yeah.
But she's into, so they're gonna do this. Meanwhile, in the Dominion range of Antarctica.
Wow. in a Wikipedia that Craig Yost read recently.
Yeah.
The main team land the Blackbird. And they're all staying around. Nightcrawler's not there. I like the way this is framed. There's a beat where they're all just staying there. The same are Warren's like, something's wrong, and Wolverine's like, no, trust Nightcrawler, and then Nightcrawler comes back.
Yeah.
He had been doing reconnaissance. He checked, they are there.
Yep. We jump over to Washington, D.C., the Church of the Reverend William Stryker, where Jake, a.k.a. Joaquin, a.k.a. Richter, is being introduced to the main group of purifiers, excuse me.
Purifiers.
Yeah. And, his contact is like leading him into a church. And it's like, we also have some new allies. And when Richter sees this, he's like, oh shit, no, not these people. And then we cut over to New York City in the future, 80 years from now.
Yes. Yep. This is the one of the futures. I like this. this little bit. Like they had to spend I love this little bit. Like they teleport to the future, but they're like, we had to spend 5 days traveling from Texas to New York. And Layla's like, Forge built a time machine, not a time and space machine.
It's very cute. Yeah.
A great time machine bit. I always think about that. Like if there was a time machine, you'd immediately just get teleported to where they'd put up like an apartment complex or like a Chili's.
Yeah.
And just get telefragged.
Or, the big thing that people always talk about, or maybe not always, but, comic book nerds, if, the earth is always moving, right? So like, if you go back in time 40 years, like the earth may not necessarily be where it is now that you're standing on. So.
And that's not even you landing over the ocean and drowning. That's you landing in space and exploding.
Absolutely.
We don't learn very much about this future. It looks like a shitty capitalist, post-capitalist hellscape.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are robo guards around and there are ads everywhere, but and there are no mutants. No one's talking about mutants. No one's discussing mutants. It's not part of the conversation. So they're going to go to the library and learn about it. This is really weird. This is some bad blocking. They go to the library and they find a book that has little X's all over this map where they put mutants. And then it's implied between panels, they walk there to go look at it.
Yeah.
It's really bad movement.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here.
But this is a mutant relocation camp. But we're not gonna hang out there for very long. Instead, we're gonna go back to Washington, D.C., where the New Mutant group has all gathered together to attack this collection of purifiers.
Not everyone on this team went, and there are 8 fucking people on this mission.
I know. There's so many fucking people.
I cannot handle this.
Who are these people? Like, because I think the girl in the bottom right corner, that can't be right either.
Armor.
Yeah, but
maybe that's Armor. Maybe that's who it was who was like room for one more. But she's drawn very similar to X-23, who is here.
Yeah, and they both have the same. They both have the same gloves on.
Same gloves and same haircut. A lot of people are wearing these fucking gloves. They're really in style with these guys.
Maybe they're power gloves or something. Who fucking knows?
I really don't like this.
Yeah,
it's very confusing to me. I'm not attached to these people.
Rockslide calls her Armor at the bottom right, so that's definitely Armor. One of those people is Armor, so good for them.
And I like Armor, and because she did stuff outside of the new X-Men.
We're gonna cut back and forth between the team that stayed at home and these guys breaking into the purifier compound, and Doug kind of wants to go see, go tell Cyclops what's going on, just in case that there's trouble. But this other dude is like, she'll take care of him. She's gotten through this stuff. She's not going to let things get out of hand. As we see that whole team walking into what looks like very obviously a trap of some kind.
Yeah. For the first time, we cut over to Sinister. We're in the Antarctic base, and Sinister's trying to get his crew to run. I'm so used to like campy, super gay Sinister that it's real weird when we go back to normal Sinister.
It's like, wait a minute, you guys had the right thing. It's like, oh yeah, this is after that. Like this is before before they made Sinister like super cool again.
Yeah, generic villain, super Sinister.
Yeah.
He's basically, he's got tons of people here, but he's basically like, the X-Men will take us out, and we don't want to get into a pointless fight. Like, let's get out of here. But it's too late. Harpoon, who we made fun of before, gets tossed through a wall.
Yep.
There. And the X-Men are here, and even though there's like 30, Marauders or whatever, it doesn't matter because the X-Men are professionals.
I hate this.
Fuck them up is the implication.
Mystique is in the background, and I really because Mystique is such like a puppet master kind of type character, right? Or
she's a henchman.
Yeah, she's a henchman in this, and then in the top panel when the X-Men break in, she's in the back with like. But they were like, she was surprised and like terrified of the X-Men, when I guarantee you, like, she's just going to turn into Mr. Sinister and leave. Like that's what Mystique does.
If it sucks, turn to Mr. Sinister and hit the bricks.
Hit the bricks.
Like, you don't have to stay.
Change your face.
X-Men show up.
Leave the room.
The bricks. Yeah. It doesn't make any sense. I'm sure there were things that put her here, but I don't remember the chronology.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter. I mean, she's not like a major character for this part anyway. Back in DC, our new X-Men team are sneaking in. They're taking out some guards. They're doing some acrobatic stuff. When our dude,
A knoll.
A knoll, thank you, gets caught by a dude in a purifier outfit who is Richter.
Yep. And he's like, what the hell are you doing here? And he's like, oh, we came to fight the purifiers. He's like, oh, God damn it. Like, you idiot. Don't you get it? Like, this isn't going to go well. We got much bigger problems than the purifiers. One page thing of the new X-Men fighting the purifiers that's incomprehensible.
Yeah, dude.
Look at X-23's spine twisting garbage drawing of this.
But hey, at least the top of her ass is round, right, Gary? At least we made sure that was accomplished.
At least.
Yeah, and this X-23 design is probably my least favorite. Like, why do we need giant gloves?
And big boots.
And big boots for her claws. And that seems to be like the design for all of these guys. Because our blue electric girl is kind of has similar vibes, and I just don't like it, Gary. You couldn't.
It is bad looking.
You couldn't, like, if you made me like look away from the page and tell you how many characters were on this page, I couldn't do it. Like, I don't even think I would come close.
It reminds me of, this is going to sound like Gary doing Gary shit, but I'm going to say it anyway. It reminds me of, like, there are tons of super anime games that come out where the cover just looks like 1,000 people exploding out of a single point. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, it's hard to even tell where one person ends and another person begins. Like, there's not enough contrast. There's not enough, like, uniqueness to the silhouettes. There's too many characters. Like, it looks exactly like that to me. Just visual garbage.
Being on Tumblr when, like, in 2011, which was my first, like, big Tumblr experience because of all of the Dark Souls stuff that I was doing, right? Like, that was probably, like, the first time that I was, like, actively seeking out, like, fandom kind of stuff, and seeing, like, following people that would do Dark Souls stuff, and then 1 in 5 posts would be a anime chick, and they'd be like, I love her. And that's totally fine. Like, this is not me criticizing anime at all, but I would look at the character and go, like, why? Like, what do
you love about her?
Yeah.
What are you even grabbing onto? Because how is this not just slipping off your eyes?
And I would look at it and go, like, I feel like I'm missing so much, like it'd be like if you grabbed a guy that looked like me and we're like, I love him, and you'd be like, you're gonna have to give me more than that. That's just an average white guy. Like, he looks like 90% of the other white guys around, my dude. Like, you're gonna have to give me some more details on why Jeremy Greer is your favorite. Like, it's not a
it's a whole thing. Like, it's something I've been struggling to understand for like a decade now.
Yeah.
Like, I do not get it. Somebody quit our Patreon and was really mad because I describe things that as anime when they look very different from each other. And I can't remember, this was years ago, but the examples they used, I pulled them up because I was reading exit surveys and was feeling spiteful. And I was like, yeah, I can't fucking tell the difference between these two art styles. Like, these look like the same art style. And I know I can tell the difference between anime art styles, like, in a general sense. It doesn't mean they're all like that to me.
Yeah.
I think Berserk looks different than Junjito. I get it. I think that the weird one with the Yu-Gi-Oh looks different than One Piece. I understand that, but the specific case of this, they looked very, very generic. Like, it was two schoolgirl things.
Yeah.
Like the schoolgirl uniform, big hair, big blue hair drawings. And I was like, man, these look fucking identical. Like,
what am I supposed to take away from this? Like,
yeah. And it's just, man, it's just really, really rough from a character design standpoint sometimes. I do not like it.
Man, that I've downloaded volume 30 of Berserk last night. If you want to know where my life is, like, I'm trucking, dude.
I'm curious about, now that I know that it's going to end, I'm going to get back in.
Yeah.
I didn't want to read it once when it was like he died and it's just going to trail off. I was like, I don't need to get invested in that. It can live in my memories. But now that I know that it's going to wrap up, like, I'm back in. So I'm going to start getting continue collecting the big hardcover things.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm buying the sometimes they're on sale for $3. No, I'm not even. It's all digital. Like, they were on sale on Amazon for like $4 for one volume. And then even though they're not on sale, they're like $9, I think. And Amazon does it well, so you actually read it backwards the way you're supposed to. My only problem is, like, the scan job on these, like, any 2-page spread is just literally 2 pages. Like, you can't see them side by side, which is kind of a bummer. But it's $9. I'm not going to complain. So.
The fight continues, and it's not particularly good in this. And they talk about there's a weird thing where it's like, yes, I've been there many times, Mr. Keller. On my first, I sent that busload of your friends to hell. On the next, I put a bullet in Miss Collins' head. I don't know who that is. These people who died before. But this is all just a distraction because Hellion here gets stabbed in the back, and he has been stabbed by Lady Deathstrike. That is the people that the Purifiers are working with. That Richter was like, "Oh my God, you're working with them."
Yeah,
it was Lady Deathstrike.
Yep. And even though they should be used to death by now, they are shocked and appalled at their friend dying. Which, hey, of course you are. You should be.
It's a man. I really hate what this did to the comics, because when this new X-Men came up, this is when they introduced the healing character as well. So like they constantly kill people, but it feels very arbitrary who gets healed and who doesn't.
Yeah.
Like I know this guy lives. I know Hellion continues. Not just like Krakoa era. I know he continues sooner than that. And it just like feels like pointless shock,
Yeah, absolutely.
I also don't love Lady Deathstrike. I don't think Lady Deathstrike is that cool of a character. She's okay.
She's fine. This design is really weird and just off to me for some reason. Like when I like Deathstrike, like looking a little weirder than this. I think I don't want Deathstrike to be necessarily like hot, if that makes sense. It feels like they're trying.
What is up with the front piece of her bikini or whatever? This weird like chitinous tail hanging over her crotch.
I don't know, dude. The whole design is so weird, especially with her little minions and everything. I don't know what to. I don't know, man. I really don't know. And then also like Hellion's hanging off of her claws and just like with those big goofy fucking gloves on with the boots, and it's so weird.
Yeah, not great. Luckily, the next issue we're going to be going into the adjectiveless X-Men with Mike Carey writing and stuff. So we hopefully will be a little bit better. Yeah. Sinister and Lady Deathstrike are on the cover. Chris Bacalo is the artist, who is also really exaggerated, but he's the exaggerated artist I like. So I'm looking forward to that.
Me too.
Kind of a down note, but I am still excited for the crossover.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's only 13 issues, so like we're gonna breeze through this, I think. Yeah. And this is fun. Like this is all like there's still a little bit of mystery. We're all over the place. I'm really curious what the front. I mean, I already know, but like all of the future stuff is really titillating and exciting. Like how is that going to relate to the stuff going on in the present? Is who's going to make Charles Xavier feel bad next? Can't wait to see that.
Yeah.
Like at this point, I fully expect him, as he's going to the little area that he sits at beside the highway to hold to sign up, he's going to stop off at the Circle K, and like his credit card's going to be declined, so he can't even buy like his Yahoo chocolate drink. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just not even gonna. It's very bad.
Charles needs his Yahoo.
I'm sorry, sir. If your card doesn't have the chip in it, we can't use it anymore. And he's like, the chip? What chip? What are you talking about?
How long have I been gone, my friend?
What timeline is this?
Chip tap to pay. It's I'm looking forward to it. What this crossover reminds me the most of, the way it's bringing all these threads together, is something that on a long enough timeline I'd really like to do, which is the Executioner's Song.
Okay.
Which is a 90s crossover that was the first one I read that brought like all this shit together. Like it was all the teams and a bunch of villains. It's like Sinister and Apocalypse team up, and all their minions are in play. Like it's a big melee kind of thing. So
cool. I'm into it. We should check it out. I think that's it for today. So if you want to read ahead, just go to the Marvel Unlimited app and read the next 4 issues. Do that. In the meantime, thank you so much for listening. We very much appreciate it. If you want to support us, you can do that by going to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv. Joining not only supports us directly, but gets you tons and tons and tons of exclusive content. The Bonfire Side Chat this season on Elden Ring is absolutely great. It's a ton of fun. It's weekly.
Thanks.
And which is rad. I voted for weekly, so I was happy to see. I know it's been kind of an adjustment for you guys, but it's been really nice listening to you every week.
It's been great. Like it's just as easy. Yes. So I'm very excited for the episode to come out Sunday, which is our first response episode. Like we have a nice conversation and we read like an interview with Zuli.
Nice.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. I'll be curious to see what people think about it.
Yeah,
and it's been fun adjusting. Like it's been pretty painless. going through it.
I'm super excited. But that's not just Dark Souls stuff. You can also get all kinds of exclusive podcasts and access to the Slack channel, so you can chat with other people in the community. You can also leave ratings and reviews on websites that support you doing that, and tell your friends. Tell all of your ex-friends. Not the people.
Current ex-friends. Yeah. Tell your ex-boyfriend. Do you have an ex-boyfriend? Go tell him about the podcast. Just DM him out of nowhere. Crawl up in those DMs. Yeah, this is how you reconnect.
Yeah. Is there a guy in your life that you've really been wanting to talk to? This will break the ice. What about a family member? Do you have an estranged sister? Does she like X-Men?
Just another Days of Future Cast marriage that we've arranged.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, like wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, take care, everybody.
Thank you. Bye. Chocolate orange cold brew.
Orange coffee.
I did this the other day. Someone recommended doing a shot of espresso and sparkling water with like a citrus of some kind, like or even parsley in some cases. And it worked out. It worked out really well. My summer goal is to become coffee snob guy. So I bought a Vietnamese brewer. Carrie, so it's this
like
little
you
like
just bought a person.
No, like a little coffee brewer, like a little. Yeah, I've got a guy in my house now. He does all my coffee for me. It's this little like metal thing that sits on top of a cup, and like you pat the coffee down and put the water in, and it like does the boil or whatever, right? Basic stuff. And I'm reading the directions because I've never done this before, and it says like 1 to 3 tablespoons of coffee. And I'm like, okay, well, 3, because I'm used to drinking coffee. Like, just let's pop 3 in there. So, and you mix that with like sweetened condensed milk, and it makes this like apparently very common Vietnamese coffee drink whose name I cannot pronounce. Anyway, drink was super good. It was basically like I had done cocaine. I was so jacked up, Gary, to like that was at like 7 o'clock in the morning. At like 5 o'clock in the afternoon, I was like, something's going wrong. There's something wrong with my body. It was so fucked up, dude. I was like jittery. I was shaking. I like had to force a protein bar down my throat just to like have something on my stomach. And I just had like the one coffee. Like Autumn, I was texting Autumn. She was out of town, and I was like, I've done something to myself. And she's like, what, did you have more than one? And I'm like, no, absolutely not.
I'm gonna die.
And then the second time, that was my first time making it. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to do a third of that, right? And then I'll do more water, because they say to do more water if you want like a lighter brew, right? To just basically pour water in it for a second time. And even that was like all morning. I was like,
this is too much.
And I usually drink like 2 shots of espresso a day, right? Like I'm not immune to coffee or anything. Yeah. And so I was shocked. So if you need something to jack your heart rate up for 8 hours, I got you, fam. No problem.
I got an espresso, which is a little espresso maker thing that's use little pods. It's not a
that's what I've been using. That's what I've been rocking for years and years and years.
Yeah, I got one of those, and I bought a big variety pack, and they have a little symbol on the side that's how many beans. And I had a very similar thing where like it started out, I'm like, I can start at 10 beans.
Yeah,
this is nothing. I'll do a Risotto 10 beaner, and then just immediately like was like, oh god, this sucks.
That sounds like their newer thing. That's like their Nespresso like Venti or whatever. So I don't think I'm still on their old thing, but I use like that pod, like the other version of that. That's what I do every single day. And have like no problems at all. And
this was still even more
intense.
This
was like fucking like, dude, I was crazy. I told my sister, called me, and she's like, what is wrong with you? You sound weird. And I'm like, I think I've done a line of cocaine and I just don't remember doing it, man. I am so jacked up. And I mean, like
cocaine to this thing,
teeth clenching, like jaw clenching. I was like, I mean, it was fucking nuts, dude. It was crazy.
Yeah, that shit's fucking wild. The same thing, or I also had a similar experience to that. Like me and all my friends in my mid-20s discovered Cafe Bustelo, which is a type of ground coffee you can get that's espresso ground and incredibly strong. And we're just like switched to this, and we're like, this doesn't make a difference. It's just smaller grind, and then just made the strongest coffee that any of us had ever had.
Brain go.
Just, yeah. It's been so long since I felt hyper. Like when I first got the machine, that was the first time, and then now it's just like I can kind of get to normal sometimes. It sounds refreshing to feel amped up.
Yeah. It I did a lot. Like I was working from home that day, and I was just so focused. I was just like, I was going like 97 miles a minute.
The records. And,
oh, dude.
Yeah, I came up with a filing system for our DVDs.
Autumn's like, where did you find the DVDs?
Yeah.
X-Men?
Oh man. X-Men, let's X-Men it up. I've been recording. Should I start?
No, just leave it in there. I'll just trim it up later.